Hey guys, Chris here, episode 4 of Food FAQs. I hope you guys are enjoying the videos. Remember, above, click subscribe, below, leave me your comments and give me the thumbs up. Tons of questions on Facebook for the past couple of weeks about garlic pork. Garlic pork is one of those traditional Christmas time dishes down in the Caribbean, especially wherever the Portuguese may have settled. So Trinidad, Guyana, for instance, would all enjoy this. And this is what we have here. I'm not sure if you guys can tell how clear it is, but I'm going to show you guys how to marinate the pork. That's the question a lot of you guys had on Facebook. How do we marinate the pork for making garlic pork? Stick with me, guys. I'm going to show you guys how to do this. Remember, if you're watching this on YouTube, to leave your comments below and give me the thumbs up. Yeah, friends, so the ingredients for making the marinade and marinating the pork for the garlic pork recipe is as follows. I've got here about 20 cloves of garlic, which I already peeled, a couple tablespoons of salt, a habanero pepper. You can use Scotch bonnet. Now that is a bit optional. Some people tend to use pepper, some people tend not to use pepper. That is entirely up to you. I love the sort of the heat and flavor of the hot pepper. In this bowl here, I've got 2 cups of vinegar. Here I've got a whole bunch of fresh shadow benny. Well, not fresh shadow benny, but shadow benny that I picked up at the grocery store. This is one of those ingredients that it's probably not traditional when it comes to garlic pork. However, when I'm cooking, and I suggest this to you guys as well, when you're cooking, tailor the recipe to what you would like. I love shadow benny, so I'm going to be using shadow benny in this recipe. I'm going to be using about a half a cup of chopped shadow benny. So we've got the 20 cloves of garlic, the hot pepper, the 2 tablespoons of salt, 2 cups of vinegar, and the shadow benny. In the bowl here, what I've got is, I think it's a leg of pork. Part of a leg anyways. It's about 4 to 5 pounds, simply because there's a bone in there as well. So when it's all trimmed and everything, it's going to be about 4 pounds of meat. You will notice that there is a bit of fat, and I love this because the next step, after this has been marinating for about 5 days or so, we're going to fry these up, and with the sort of the skin and the fat and everything else, it's going to give it a lovely flavor when we're frying this up. So next, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to chop this up into cubes, maybe about 1-inch cubes, the pork that is, before we get to actually putting everything together. So I'm going to cut this up, 1-inch cubes, wash it with some lime juice or lemon juice or vinegar and water, dry it all together. Dry it all up, drain it, dry it, make sure most of the water is gone. And then I'm going to chop the garlic, shadow benny, and pepper all together into nice, finely chopped. Now, if you have a food processor, you can certainly put all of these ingredients into the food processor, give it a good blend. If you have a blender, you can do the same thing as well, and make it into sort of a paste. I'm too lazy tonight to wash up after using the food processor, so I'll just be using my knife. I want to chop everything up. So the next thing you're going to see is everything all chopped and ready for the marinating process. All of the ingredients for the marinade and for marinating the pork is all ready now. So I've got the habanero pepper all chopped up here. You can use a Scotch bonnet pepper, any sort of hot pepper you like. I've got the shadow benny all chopped up. It's in the same container with the salt. Remember, we had 2 tablespoons of salt here. I've got about a half a cup of shadow benny all chopped up. Guys, another thing I want to mention to you guys, as I said before, when cooking, try to use the ingredients that you like. In this case, if you wanted to use some fresh thyme or cilantro or any sort of herb that you like, feel free to use it at this point as well too. Remember, cooking is all about you enjoying it, even though you're trying to keep as close as possible to the traditional recipe. I've got the garlic all chopped up, the vinegar, and you guys will notice now that the pieces of pork is all cut up. There is some fat in there, but I love the fat. After this is done marinating for about 5 days, we are going to fry it down so the fat is going to render a bit. It's going to add some more flavor to everything else. And this is a cheap piece of pork that I purchased. Another great cut would probably, it was a leg, I believe it was. Another great cut would probably be the belly. Again, economical, very cheap. Or a loin. A pork loin would be good, except, I mean, I say the pork loin would be all lean meat. If that's your thing, feel free to do that. Now, guys, I probably won't use an expensive cut like a tenderloin or something, simply because a tenderloin is already so tender as it is. There's no need to have it marinate in vinegar and stuff like that. The vinegar and everything else here is just going to flavor it and break down the muscles in the meat and everything else, so it's going to come nice and tender. So this is it here, guys. We've got the pork. It turned out to be about 4 pounds all chopped up. Garlic, shadow benny, salt, the hot pepper, as well as the vinegar. I'm just going to get on to the next step. In this bowl, I'm just going to add all the ingredients for the marinade. So in goes the hot pepper, the chopped up shadow benny, and salt. Just gonna grab a spoon to make sure I get all of that salt in there. The garlic. Now remember, guys, if you guys were so inclined, you would have already done this in your food processor, so you'll be avoiding this step. I'm just gonna add the vinegar to this now. And give it a good stir. The final step now is to put everything together to allow it to marinate. Traditionally, the pork is placed in a glass jar, a non-reactive sort of jar, so nothing with metal or copper or anything like that. I have it here in a Ziploc bag because this is more convenient for me. And all I'm going to do now is pour the marinade that we made directly into the bag. Then I'm going to seal it all up, work it all the way through the bag. Off camera, I'm going to work it a bit more, and I'm going to take all the air out of the bag. Then what I'm going to do, since I'm going to be putting this in the refrigerator, I'm going to double bag my Ziploc bag, even though it's nice and secure. But I just don't want to risk it bursting in the fridge and leaking all over the fridge, or that strong garlic smell all over the fridge. Traditionally, again, this is put to marinate in a glass jar, and then they put it in a cool place, not necessarily in the fridge, for about 5 days at least. I'm going to marinate mine for about 5 days, and then we're going to get back to actually making the garlic pork. So this is it, guys. This is basically it. The marinade is in there. It's going to sit in there for about 5 days. It's going to cure. It's going to make everything nice and tender. That wonderful garlic flavor is going to be throughout the pork. And that's it. This is the marinade for making garlic pork as it's done down in the Caribbean, especially Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, anywhere the Portuguese may have settled throughout the Caribbean, you would find this dish.